Picture this. It's 4 a.m. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, wakes up in a freezing military tent. His body aches, his enemies are plotting, his son just died. And the first thing he does, he writes in his journal, not a battle plan, not a list of people to execute. He writes a reminder to himself, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive. The Emperor of Rome, reminding himself to be grateful before anything else. That's not weakness. That's mastery, because here's what Marcus understood that most of us forget. The battle isn't out there. It's in here, in your mind, in those first few seconds after you wake up when your brain is soft, vulnerable, and wide open. Most people lose that battle before they even get out of bed. They grab their phone, check their messages, scroll through problems that don't even belong to them. And within minutes, they've handed control of their day to the algorithm, to other people's emergencies, to the chaos. The Stoics knew better. They trained for this moment, every single morning, not with push-ups or protein shakes, but with words. Simple, powerful truths that anchor the mind before the storm begins. And today, I'm giving you 5 of them. 5 daily affirmations that will completely transform how you start your day. Not theory, not fluff. Battle-tested wisdom from people who faced real darkness and conquered it from the inside out. But here's the deal. You need all 5. Each one builds on the last. Skip one, and the foundation cracks. Stay with me through all of them, and by the end, you'll have a complete mental framework that most people spend decades searching for. Before we begin, do me one favor: subscribe. Because what I'm about to share goes against everything modern self-help teaches. And if this lands for you, you're going to want what comes next. Let's dive in. You know what's wild? We chase everything: success, clarity, love, money, peace, answers. We run ourselves into the ground looking for the next thing, the better thing, the thing that'll finally make us feel complete. But we completely overlook the one miracle happening right now. You woke up, your heart's beating, your lungs are pulling in air without you even thinking about it. You have this moment. This one unrepeatable, unearned moment. You didn't earn it, nobody promised it to you, but you got it anyway. That's not luck, that's grace, and that's where your real power lives. Not in what you're going to achieve today, but in how deeply you recognize the gift of simply being here. Most people roll out of bed already behind, already stressed, already thinking about the 17 things they need to do before noon. They're reacting before they've even returned to themselves. And the truth is, if you don't direct your attention first thing in the morning, the world will do it for you. Carl Jung said it perfectly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. If you wake up and let your mind run wild, stressing about work, people, problems that haven't even happened yet, you're not living, you're surviving. And there's a massive difference. Gratitude interrupts that pattern. It anchors you before the storm begins. Here's what you do. Before you check your phone, before you think about your to-do list, before you even open your eyes fully, take 3 slow breaths. Place your hand on your heart if you need to. Reconnect with your body and say it out loud or in your mind. I'm grateful to be here. Not to perform, not to impress anyone, just to be. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." But maybe part of that examination isn't just asking deep questions. Maybe it's practicing deep presence. You don't need a fancy journal or some perfect meditation setup. You need one clean thought. This is enough. This moment is enough. And from that seed of enoughness, you grow into someone who doesn't need chaos to feel alive. You start approaching your day with a quieter kind of strength, the kind rooted in stillness, not speed. There's a big difference between starting the day from pressure and starting it from purpose. One feels like drowning. The other feels like clarity, And that shift begins with intention. When you wake up with gratitude, you stop chasing peace all day because you've already started with it. Think of it like tuning your inner frequency. When you're tuned into appreciation, the things that usually irritate you, traffic, interruptions, delays, they lose their grip. Because you're not reacting from lack, you're responding from wholeness. Even Aristotle spoke to this when he said, "Happiness depends upon ourselves." Not in a selfish way, but in the sense that your state of mind is your responsibility, and it starts the second you open your eyes. Psychology backs this up too. Studies from Harvard and Berkeley confirm that people who practice daily gratitude report higher levels of optimism, better sleep, and even stronger immune systems. Not because their life is easier, but because their focus is different. Where others see problems, they see possibilities. Where others rush, they pause. And it all begins with this internal reset button you press every single morning. Plato said, "A grateful mind is a great mind, which eventually attracts to itself great things." That's not mystical. It's cause and effect. When you're centered, your decisions are better. When you're appreciative, you attract people who operate from that same energy. When you're grounded, you're less likely to be manipulated, distracted, or derailed. You don't just show up differently, you attract differently. So before your day gets hijacked by obligations and overwhelm, own those first few seconds, not with pressure, not with a plan, but with presence. Say it with me now. I'm grateful to be here. That phrase may seem small, but it holds the power to recalibrate your entire system. Because gratitude isn't passive, it's powerful. It's how you take control before the world gets a chance to. It's how you stop existing and start living. Ever notice how some people wake up already tired? Not because they didn't sleep, but because they never really let go of yesterday. Their body rested, but their mind kept spinning, replaying everything that didn't go right. That one thing they wish they'd said differently, that moment they wish didn't happen. It just loops in their head like a song stuck on repeat. And whether they know it or not, they're dragging all of that weight into a brand new day. It's like trying to run a race while carrying yesterday's suitcase. Eventually, you're going to trip. We carry way too much from the day before. The awkward conversation, the missed deadline, the stupid mistake. And sometimes it's not even our own stuff. We carry other people's moods, judgments, expectations. We let that shadow of what was follow us straight into what could be. But here's the thing most people forget. You're not meant to relive yesterday. You're meant to learn from it, then leave it where it belongs, in the past. That's the real test, not perfection, but release. So start here. Every morning, remind yourself, yesterday doesn't own me. Say it like you mean it. Say it like your peace depends on it. Because it does. That one sentence might not erase the past, but it separates you from it. It draws a boundary between what happened and what you're choosing now. And that boundary, that's freedom. That's your reset. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That line is everything. Because what happened yesterday might explain your pain, but it doesn't get to define your path. You get to decide what story you're telling yourself today. You get to decide whether you carry shame or strength, and that's the part too many people give away. They replay the worst parts of their life like it's homework that was never finished. But at some point, you've got to close the book and write the next chapter. The Stoics had a powerful view on this. They believed that what matters most isn't the event itself, but how you respond to it. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Yesterday might have been a mess. You may have said the wrong thing, lost your cool, missed the opportunity. Okay. But now what? Are you going to live there forever? Or are you going to take what you learned and move forward stronger, sharper, clearer? Think about it like this. Every day is like a fresh journal page. But if you keep scribbling yesterday's story on today's page, you never get to write anything new. That's why letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's emotional discipline. It's the decision to say, I won't waste today fighting battles I've already lost or trying to fix things that no longer exist. That's strength. The strength to stop picking the same wound. Socrates believed that an examined life was essential. But that doesn't mean you keep poking at the past until it bleeds again. Examining doesn't mean reliving. It means observing, understanding, and then releasing. Take the lesson, leave the weight. And if that sounds too simple, ask yourself, what has holding on to yesterday really done for you? Has it healed you, helped you, or has it just made your present heavier than it needs to be? Here's something practical you can try. Picture the thoughts you're holding, regret, guilt, embarrassment as stones in a backpack. Every morning before you get out of bed, close your eyes and imagine taking that backpack off. Literally visualize it sliding off your shoulders and hitting the floor. Feel your body relax. Let that visual become a ritual. Because when you let go physically and mentally, your nervous system gets the message, we're safe, we're free, we're starting clean. Aristotle taught that habit is what forms character. So what if you made this letting go process a habit? Not a one-time thing, but a muscle you flex every day. The more you practice release, the easier it gets to separate your identity from your old wounds. You stop being the person who's always messing up or always behind, and you start being the person who recovers fast, forgives quicker, and chooses peace on purpose. And it's not just about big moments either. Sometimes we carry tiny things we didn't even realize were weighing us down. The tone in someone's text, the thing we overheard, the passive-aggressive comment that got under our skin, little stuff that builds up until we don't even know why we're so tense. That's why this practice matters daily, not just when you've had a meltdown, but every morning. Check in, clear out. Plato said, the beginning is the most important part of the work. And it's true. If you begin your day carrying the past, your actions, your words, your choices, they're all filtered through that residue. But if you begin with presence and release, you get clarity, you get power. You don't bring the noise of yesterday into today's silence. So here's the move. Stop treating every day like it's a continuation of your worst memory. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to your growth. Yesterday had its shot. Today is yours. And you owe it to yourself to show up fully. Not halfway, not haunted, not on autopilot. Say it again. Yesterday doesn't own me. That's not denial. That's direction. That's you choosing healing over hurt. That's you remembering that your future isn't built on the debris of your past. It's built on the choices you make now. So choose presence, choose peace, choose to drop the weight, and then go live like you mean it. Listen, we're about halfway through, and if you're still here, that tells me something about you. Most people quit when things get real, but you're different. You're looking for something deeper than quick fixes. So before we go further, I need you to do something. Share this video with one person, just one. Someone who's stuck in their own head. Someone who needs to hear that they have more power than they think. Tag them, challenge them, because transformation isn't meant to happen alone. All right, let's keep going. It's easy to feel like life is spinning out of control these days. One moment you're sipping coffee, the next you're drowning in texts, news updates, messages, meetings, and then come the thoughts. Fast, noisy, demanding your attention. It's like your mind opens its own app and starts launching tabs you never clicked on. Before you know it, you're not thinking, you're being thought. You're reacting, you're chasing every feeling, every worry, every what if. It's exhausting, and it's a trap. The Stoics saw this coming centuries ago. They knew that the chaos outside isn't nearly as dangerous as the chaos inside. That's why they trained daily to master their minds before the world could. Marcus Aurelius said, You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That right there is the core of all personal power, not in controlling others, not in controlling every outcome, but in controlling the only thing you ever really could, your response. And that's where your morning comes in. Before the world wakes up and starts screaming, there's this tiny window of silence, a pause, and what you do in that pause sets the tone for everything. So here's your anchor. Say this to yourself: I control my mind. Say it before your phone, before your tasks, before your thoughts start spinning. Say it with your whole chest, because when you claim that truth early, you build a shield that lasts all day. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." That's not just poetry, it's a blueprint. Most people go through their day completely outward focused, pulled by noise, comparison, ego, status. But the moment you shift your gaze inward, even for 60 seconds, you start to wake up. You realize that not every emotion is true. Not every thought deserves your attention. Your mind might be busy, but you don't have to be. Here's something simple you can try. First thing in the morning, just sit still. 1 minute, nothing fancy, no music, no scrolling, just you and your breath. Inhale slowly, exhale slower. And as the thoughts come, and they will, let them pass like clouds. Don't grab onto them. Don't judge them. Just breathe. That space between stimulus and response, that's where your power lives. That's where you remember, I am not my thoughts. I'm the one watching them. Plato believed that the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Not your job, not your schedule, not your inbox, yourself. And that victory starts in your head. Every time you catch yourself spiraling, overthinking, reacting, you've got a choice. Will you let your mind drag you? Or will you direct it? Will you be the driver or just the passenger? And look, this isn't about becoming some monk on a mountain. It's about practical control in a loud world. It's about choosing your mood instead of being hijacked by it. You don't have to answer every call. You don't have to feed every fear. You don't have to let every little inconvenience ruin your peace. Peace isn't passive. It's a decision. And the more you decide to claim it, the more natural it becomes. Socrates once said, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And the new starts with you saying, this is the direction I'm moving in. This is the tone I'm setting. This is the mindset I choose, because your mindset isn't something you inherit. It's something you train, and psychology backs this up. Neuroscience tells us that your brain isn't fixed, it's plastic. It rewires itself based on what you focus on. If you spend all morning reacting, doom scrolling, comparing, complaining, your brain gets better at stress. But if you spend your mornings anchoring, breathing, choosing, observing, your brain gets better at calm. You literally train yourself for peace. Even Aristotle pointed out that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Think about that. You don't become mentally strong overnight. You become it by choosing the same intention every morning. I control my mind. That's your rep. That's your discipline. And like lifting a weight, it gets easier with time. So the next time your mind starts pulling you toward doubt, toward anger, toward distraction, pause, breathe. And remember, just because the thought showed up doesn't mean you have to follow it. Just because something's loud doesn't mean it's true. Your inner voice, when trained, is stronger than all the outer noise combined. But you have to choose it. And yeah, you're gonna mess up. You'll have days where your mind runs the show and you forget all of this. That's okay. Don't judge it. Just return. The Stoics weren't about being perfect. They were about being aware. The real growth isn't in never slipping. It's in noticing sooner when you do, and returning faster to who you really are. So tomorrow morning, before the emails, before the headlines, before the world reaches for your attention, sit with yourself. Close your eyes, inhale calm, exhale chaos, and speak it out loud or in your heart. I control my mind. Let that be your compass. Let that be your center, because the world might be loud, but you're louder when you choose to be. And that's how you take your power back, every single day. There's something magnetic about people who walk into a room and bring calm with them. They don't have to speak loudly or dominate the space. Their presence just feels grounded. You feel safe around them, like their energy isn't looking to prove anything. And you wonder, how do they do that? The answer isn't fame. It isn't money. It isn't some fancy self-help routine. It's something much simpler and much more powerful. It's kindness, real kindness, the kind that isn't performative, the kind that's rooted in inner strength, not weakness. Ever meet someone whose energy just feels peaceful? That's not random. That's intentional. It starts with this daily decision. Kindness is my superpower, not in a soft, airy Instagram quote kind of way, but in a grounded, practical, stoic way, because being kind doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you or avoid difficult truths. In fact, it's the opposite. True kindness takes self-control. It requires discipline. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Kindness is invincible if it's sincere, not fawning or pretending. What can even the most malicious person do if you keep treating them with kindness and remain firm?" That's the balance, gentle but not fragile, soft-spoken but not silent. In the modern world, we often mistake harshness for strength, as if being cold or detached somehow proves you're in control. But here's what Stoicism teaches us. The strongest person isn't the one who controls others, it's the one who controls themselves. Kindness is a form of self-mastery. It means you've developed enough awareness to pause before reacting, enough humility to listen before judging, and enough courage to extend grace even when it's not deserved. Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." That hits hard, doesn't it? Because we all have that inner storm, the insecurities, the pain, the fear. And when we see it in others, we often forget they're battling their own version of what we're dealing with. Kindness bridges that gap. It's not about being overly positive or pretending everything's okay. It's about choosing to see the humanity in people, even when it's buried under layers of defensiveness or anger. Start your day with that mindset, and you'll feel the shift. You'll speak softer, not because you're weak, but because you don't need to shout to be heard. You'll react slower, not because you're indifferent, but because you value peace more than being right. And you'll lead with patience, not because you don't care, but because you understand that transformation takes time, yours and everyone else's. Socrates once said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle." And he wasn't being poetic, he was being real. Most of the pain people project has nothing to do with you. It's their own stuff, their own wounds, their own unresolved stories. When you operate from that awareness, you don't take things so personally. You start to see beyond the surface. That rude comment, fear, that passive aggression, insecurity, that silence, probably pain. Kindness doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but it does mean responding with clarity instead of ego. And here's where it gets even more practical. Visualize one kind thing you'll do today. Seriously, pick something right now. Maybe it's complimenting someone who seems down. Maybe it's pausing to really listen when someone speaks. Maybe it's texting a friend just to say you're thinking of them. Doesn't matter how small it is, it adds up. That one act might be the only good thing someone experiences today. And the wild part, it will probably do more for you than it does for them. Because every kind action reinforces your identity as someone who leads with intention, not impulse. Plato believed that excellence is not an act, but a habit. So is kindness. It's not about waiting until you're in a perfect mood or until someone deserves it. It's about choosing who you want to be, on purpose, making it a practice, repeating it until it becomes your nature. And when it becomes your nature, your presence shifts. You no longer enter rooms trying to get something. You show up to offer something. That's a different kind of power, a deeper kind, and yes, people might misunderstand you. They might mistake your patience for passivity, your calm for disinterest. But here's the key: you're not doing it for them. You're doing it because it aligns with your values. You're doing it because it reflects the person you're building. And the truth is, nothing builds long-term influence like consistent kindness. Not charm, not intellect, not hustle, kindness. The Stoics weren't soft. They were warriors of the mind. They faced hardship, betrayal, loss, and still believed in leading with virtue. To them, kindness wasn't an accessory. It was core. It was the foundation of a life well lived. And when you understand that, you stop looking for applause. You stop trying to prove your worth. You just live it, quietly, consistently, completely. So tomorrow morning, before you get swept into the day, pause, center yourself, and remind your mind, kindness is my superpower, not because you need people to like you, but because it's who you choose to be. Then go out there and live like someone who's not afraid to be good. Not fake good, strong good. That's what leaves a mark. That's what rewrites the energy of a room. And more often than not, that's what ends up changing people, starting with you. Have you ever blinked and realized an entire week just flew by? Not in a poetic, life is beautiful kind of way, but in a slightly disorienting, where did the time go kind of way. 1 minute you're sipping your morning coffee, the next you're buried under a mountain of notifications, meetings, and responsibilities you barely remember agreeing to. It's like the day ran away without asking permission, and you're stuck trying to catch up. That's modern life for most of us. Fast, loud, demanding. But here's something that cuts through all that noise like a blade. Everything is temporary. And that truth isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up. The stress, temporary. The pressure, temporary. Even the joy, the peace, the good stuff, it too is passing. That's what makes it precious. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They practiced what's called memento mori, a daily reminder of mortality, not to be dark or depressing, but to be aware. Because when you realize nothing is guaranteed, not tomorrow, not even the next hour, you start treating the present moment with more respect. Plato once said, "Time is the moving image of eternity." That hits differently when you think about how little of it we actually use well. So much of our time is spent either regretting the past or worrying about the future. We rarely just are. But presence is a skill, a discipline, something you have to train. Just like your body, your mind, or your patience. Carl Jung believed that the ability to be in the present moment is a major component of mental wellness. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Most of our anxiety lives in the future. Most of our sorrow lives in the past. The present, that's where your feet actually are. That's where the breath lives. That's where power exists. But we're so distracted we miss it. We miss the sunlight streaming through the window, the taste of our breakfast, the way the air feels right before a rainstorm. These small moments overlooked by many are everything. So here's your reminder. Say it to yourself like you mean it. This moment is all I have, so I'm going to enjoy it. Not tomorrow, not later, now. This cup of coffee, this quiet space before the kids wake up, this conversation you're having with a friend where for once nobody's checking their phone. Life isn't waiting to start. It's happening right now. And if you're not fully in it, you're not just missing time, you're missing your life. Aristotle talked about eudaimonia, the idea of flourishing, of living a good and meaningful life. He didn't tie that to some distant goal or external success. He tied it to virtue in action, how you live each moment, how you show up with integrity, awareness, and intention. Enjoying the present doesn't mean ignoring your responsibilities. It means learning how to fully experience whatever moment you're in. Even the messy ones. Let's be honest though, presence is hard. It's much easier to distract yourself, to stay busy, to always think about what's next, because sitting still with yourself, that's where the real work begins. The Stoics called this inner stillness ataraxia, a kind of serene calm that isn't shaken by the outside world. And one of the fastest ways to tap into that calm is to slow down and notice the moment you're in. Whether it's brushing your teeth or watching the wind move through the trees, let yourself be there. And look, this isn't about pretending life isn't stressful. It absolutely is. The world will continue to move fast. People will continue to pull at your time and energy. But when you practice presence, you stop giving your power away. You stop being ruled by urgency, and instead, you choose clarity. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." That's it. Not just surviving, but enjoying. And enjoyment doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. It can be found in stillness, in quiet appreciation, in the pause between things. So tomorrow, or even right now as you're listening to this, pause. Take one deep breath. Feel it travel through your chest. Notice where your feet are. Notice what you hear. Smell, taste, touch. Be where you are. Not where you think you need to be. Presence is power because it brings you back to yourself, not the version of you that's performing, not the version that's planning or regretting, just you, here. Socrates, the master of questioning everything, once asked, "How can you wonder your travels do you any good when you carry yourself around with you?" The truth is, it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. If you can't be present, nothing will satisfy you. Not success, not status, not escape. That's why presence isn't optional, it's essential. You want more fulfillment, more connection, more peace. It doesn't come from doing more, it comes from noticing more. It comes from paying attention, it comes from choosing to enjoy the little things while they're happening instead of missing them and wishing you'd paid attention. This moment, this one, is already slipping away. Not in a dramatic way, just quietly, like it always does. So hold it a little longer. Appreciate it a little deeper. And remind yourself often, everything is temporary, so I will enjoy this moment. That mindset doesn't just slow down time, it stretches it, makes it richer, more meaningful. And over time you begin to realize, this moment was never small. It was everything. You just needed to notice. So as you move through today, whatever it holds, carry this truth with you. Peace isn't found in the next moment. It's found in this one, right here, right now. All right, let's bring this home. You just learned 5 affirmations, 5 daily truths that the Stoics lived by, not because they made life easy, but because they made life manageable, meaningful, worth living. But here's the reality. Knowing them means absolutely nothing. The Stoics didn't write philosophy to be read and forgotten. They wrote it to be lived, daily, in the small moments, in the hard moments, in the moments when everything inside you wants to quit. So here's your challenge, and I mean this. Choose one affirmation, just one, not all 5. 1. Master it this week. Say it every morning. Feel it. Let it change how you move through your day. Then next week, add the next one, because here's what I've learned after years of studying this stuff. 1 affirmation practiced beats 5 affirmations known. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." So let me ask you directly, are you going to embody this? Or are you going to be like the thousands of people who watch videos like this, feel inspired for 20 minutes, then return to the same patterns, the same stress, the same mental chaos? The Stoics faced plagues, wars, betrayals, the deaths of loved ones, unimaginable loss. You're facing stress, deadlines, difficult people, uncertainty, same principles. different battlefield. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations never intending anyone to read them. He was writing to himself, reminding himself daily how to think, act, and live. That's what you need to do. Not read about Stoicism, practice it. Because your life won't change because you heard these affirmations. It'll change when you live them, when you wake up tomorrow and say, I'm grateful to be here before checking your phone. When you remind yourself, yesterday doesn't own me, and actually let go of that thing you've been replaying. When you claim, I control my mind, and stop letting your thoughts hijack your peace. When you choose, kindness is my superpower, and lead with grace instead of ego. When you pause and say, this moment is all I have, and actually be present for it. That's when transformation happens, not in the learning, in the doing. Before you go, I need you to do 2 things. First, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'm releasing deeper Stoic content every week. Breakdowns of ancient wisdom, modern applications, real practices you can use immediately. Second, comment below with the 1 affirmation you're implementing tomorrow. Not all 5. 1. Hold yourself accountable. Let the community see it. And if you found value here, share this with someone who's struggling, someone who needs to hear that they have more control than they think. Because that's what Stoicism teaches us. We can't control what happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. And that response? That's where your power lives. The ancient Stoics faced chaos and found peace. Now it's your turn. Stay strong, stay focused, and remember, the obstacle is the way.